Hey, what is up, nerds, geeks, and collectors alike? Today we are taking a look at the Marvel Legends Spider-Man Retro Series 6-inch scale Spider-Man figure. First, let's take a look at the packaging, and this packaging is based on the 1994 animated Spider-Man, which is something that Hasbro has been doing recently, modernizing figures and putting them in packages where it is reminiscent of the original packaging back in the day. And here is Spider-Man's bio as well as the other figures with this wave. I think this is wave 1. Here we have Spider-Man, and then here we have at the back the legal mumbo jumbo as well as the UPC. Now coming back at the front, here we have an image of Spider-Man, the classic Marvel Comics logo as well as the classic Spider-Man logo. Now I have to admit this is a very beautiful card, and I don't want to damage it to the point where it's really destroyed. So let's get them out carefully. And here we have animated Spider-Man, and I really like this figure. Unfortunately, my major gripe is with the printing, especially with the cobweb pattern. It's unfortunate because this could have been the best Marvel Legends comic book Spider-Man that we could have gotten. And what's more unfortunate is that this figure was mass produced with this extremely vital error, with only a handful of these figures came out good or borderline tolerable. But good thing that we come with an extra head. But before we take a look at the extra head, I also noticed that there are some major flaws with the paint applications, especially with the cobweb pattern throughout the figure. But nonetheless, I like the red, the dark blue, and as you can see, this one is it's passable. This area is passable because you don't really focus on that area of the body. But that's actually unfortunate, but nonetheless, it is what it is. And what I also noticed is here at the back, and I really like this Spider-Man logo, and as you can see here, I'm missing some continuation of the cobweb pattern here. It's not reaching his entire shoulder as here on the side it was supposed to, but nonetheless it's tolerable. Nonetheless, it's alright. I can pass through it since it's on the back, but on the head, that's really a major kill for me. And nonetheless, here at the foot, at least we didn't have any problems with the paint. This came out looking very good. So that's my only gripe, is the head and some missing cobweb pattern. It's like Hasbro hasn't done this before. Come on, you've done a lot of Marvel Legends Spider-Man, and the one that could have been the best, that's where you screw up the most, which is unfortunate. But overall, this figure is actually great. I really like the sculpt, I like the accessories, and I like the scale. But before we take a look at the figure, let's take a look at the accessories. Now, Spider-Man comes with 2 fists, that is interchangeable fists that you can exchange from his thwipping hand. As you can see here, it's painted very good actually, as you can see here. I like the paint, the red, it's consistent with the body, and it is a closed fist. What more do you expect like that? But I do wish that this included with wall crawling hands. I wish that could have been included. But nonetheless, it's okay. There's nothing we can do about it now. And here we have the alternate head, which has better paint apps. Nonetheless, the cobweb pattern is somewhat better than the one that's already equipped with the Spider-Man. So I think I'll be displaying it with this one, though I like the expression with the eyes on the one that is already on the body, but I think I'd prefer this one simply because of the cobweb pattern. So yeah, I really like this. There are some inconsistencies. As you can see, we have some thick lines here on the alternate head, and some are so thin, like it's not uniform. It's so weird, but nonetheless, it's miles better than this one. And the closer you look at this, there are some mild imperfections with the white paint on the eyes, but I can pass that up. As you can see here, this is what I've been saying why I like the one that is equipped with the eyes better, because for some reason that's just my preference. But I do know that The alternate head is like a Steve Ditko Spider-Man, and here you can see it's on a dumbbell joint, which is Hasbro is trying to incorporate with the latest Marvel Legends figure, where the joint is now a dumbbell joint. And just to put this here, there you go. And now Spider-Man is equipped with the Steve Ditko design. I did see that there is a new Ben Reilly figure. I'm hoping that the head has a better cobweb pattern there, so I can switch the head, because for some weird reason it happened on the classic Spider-Man where this major error was mass produced. While I saw Webman, a couple of figures of Webman having some very good cobweb pattern painted on his head, so I'm hoping that the next figures of Spider-Man will be better, especially with the paint. Now taking a look at the thwipping hands right here, let's just pop this off in a typical Marvel Legends fashion, and there you have it. Here we have Spider-Man with his fisted hands. That's looking very good, and I really gotta admit, despite its flaws, I really like this figure simply because it's Spider-Man. And I've been really wanting a classic Spider-Man. I do have this teenage Spider-Man with the Vulture from the Ultimate Spider-Man, but I really want a Spider-Man in his adult stage. Now moving on to Articulation. Once more, this is on a ball joint. He can go an entire 360. He can look up that far thanks to the dumbbell joint, but as you can see here, there is a weird gap, so you gotta limit that to make it look natural, but nonetheless he can really look up if you can tolerate the gap. And as you can see here, he looks fair enough. There we go. And he can look down that far. Once more, gap right there. As you can see, you just have to adjust to make it look natural, or whatever it is you like. He has a butterfly joint here, and his hand can go an entire 360. It can go out that far, and then he has a bicep swivel right here, a double jointed elbow. As you can see, it's just a little stiff. There we go. Be careful with that, you don't want to break the figure. And he has a swivel at the wrist, as well as some back and forth. And that really gives Spider-Man a huge amount of possibility. As well as the fist. The fist also has hinges, and much like this one. What's new with this mold is the upper torso. This is actually new, I think. He can go a full 360 with his upper torso, and he has some ab crunch. He can crunch that far and back that far. This way Articulation looks more natural, and as you can see, they eliminated the waist swivel with this new torso, and he can kick that far up and go back this far. He can do the splits in a fair amount, and he has some upper thigh swivel right there and some double jointed knees, and he has a calf swivel. I actually forgot about this, so I had needed to edit the video. And he has some back and forth on the ankle, as well as a pivot. And I gotta say, I wish every Spider-Man figure in the future has this range of articulation. Now here we have the Ultimate Spider-Man from the Spider-Man and Vulture 2-pack. As you can see, this one is from his teenage days, while this new one is for Spider-Man as an adult. And here we have the Retro Series Green Goblin, Retro Series Electro, and here we have Mysterio. Now I do want to get Sandman and the recently announced Shocker, so I want to form the Sinister Six with the Retro Series wave, and I might replace my Vulture with the classic one. And here we have Spider-Man standing about 6.5 inches, Green Goblin standing the same height as Spider-Man, that is if you want to include his headpiece in the back. Here we have Mysterio a little above 6.5 inches, and here we have Electro standing 6.5 inches as well. That is if you want to include the headpiece, which makes him a little above 7 inches. But as you can see here, 6.5 inches if you don't include the headgear. And that's actually a pretty good scale. I like the scaling. They're all 6.5 inches, and I really like that. And this Spider-Man, I like this as well. I'm gonna keep this because this is my teenage Spider-Man, and this will be my mature, older version of Spider-Man. So finalizing my thoughts with this figure is absolutely great. If you're a hardcore Spider-Man fan, I suggest you get this, but take note, this is actually very hard to come by, especially here in the Philippines, and you have to anticipate the cobweb pattern on the head is not going to be perfect. But luckily, I am able to look past it, and part of that is knowing that I'm not the only one with this issue, so whatnot. That actually, I don't know if that makes me feel worse or feel better, but nonetheless, I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people had this figure and had that error, but they're able to live with it, so I can too. But nonetheless, this figure is pretty great, I gotta admit that. So till next time, see ya.